Ladies and gentlemen, welcome aboard the Wright Flyer. As always, this is your captain, Randy Wright speaking, and I'd like to take this opportunity to personally thank you for choosing to fly over the friendly airwaves with us here at our state-of-the-art radio program, Radio Aviation Excellence, the Wright Flyer. Now, ladies and gentlemen, without any further ado, let's go ahead and delve into the topic I have slated for today's program. And it's an important one. This is a topic that really hasn't been getting much coverage, at least from the annals of the legacy media, because they've done everything within their power to bury this story. And there's good reason as to why they want to bury this story. They don't want this type of resistance to get known. They don't want people to essentially go out there and demonstrate that they are sick and tired of the government telling them how to live out the facets of their daily lives, to tell them what they can or cannot do, and yet that's what they're doing. It's what they've been doing for the past approximate 2 years with no end in sight, and they've used fear, they've used duress, they've used cajoling, they've used propagandist narrative. Now, here in the United States, we've seen it with respect to how the tech oligarchs have essentially clamped down with a heavy authoritarian hand, the way they've gone after people like Steven Crowder, the way they've gone after people like Alex Jones, the way they're going after Joe Rogan right now. I mean, one of the big stories that we're seeing in conjunction with this great freedom protest to our north is how a bunch of washed up has-been entertainers and singers are attempting to go after Spotify for continuing to host the Joe Rogan podcast. Why? Again, it's about attempting to control the narrative. They don't believe that they can compete in the free market of ideas, and truth be told, they can't. They have fully demonstrated this beyond a shadow of a doubt. And for that reason, they are going to wring their hands and gnash their teeth and attempt to go out there and play the victim. It's what the frothing at the mouth Fabian socialists have done for generation after successive generation, and it's reaching the point of ad nauseum. And people are seeing through it. The people from coast to coast and border to border, and indeed in all four corners of the globe, are starting to see these people for just exactly what and who they are. But that's not going to stop them from attempting to double down on this narrative. For Canada, things are really getting bad, particularly in the province of Quebec. Premier Legault there, who is essentially the governor of Quebec, has essentially stated that he's going to go forth with a vaccine tax. Those who have refused, even for medical exemptions, to not receive the vaccine will now be forced to pay anywhere between a range of $100 to $800 in a tax for the extra cost that it's going to have on the healthcare system. And this is, of course, the problem with socialized medicine, and it's why we, in the heart of the land of the free and the home of the brave, have to be ready, willing, and able to do our part to resist the establishment of such a system here in these United States of America. Because it's always going to be that way. It's collectivization. It's a redistributive scheme of the worst sort. And it's the way it always goes. It's a means of the government to flex their muscles, to essentially double down on their amassing of power against the people. And so it's essentially taking sovereignty away from the people. And again, ladies and gentlemen, this is all by design. This is what they have wanted for so long, and it's the Great Reset. So they will use duress, they will use social ostracism, they will use any of the tools at their means and disposal to basically undermine all of society, to force us to submit to their narrative come hell or high water. And now that they believe they see the proverbial light at the end of the tunnel, and that their complete and total victory over anyone who has the gall or the wherewithal to stand up against them is only going to encourage them to try even harder. The legacy that they are building for themselves in these dark and turgid times within which we're living at the present juncture is designed to force everyone to submit to the will of the majority. This is the quintessential tyranny of the majority. But despite this, and despite the efforts of the legacy media to skew all of this, because it is doing all it can to undermine the story and to ensure that their two-dimensional straw man narrative is the one that is accepted as the truth, it's impossible for them to hide, because it's going from both ends of the Canadian border. And it's stretching from one end of the nation to the next, and it's showing a true showing of solidarity, the likes of which we have not seen over the course of the past approximate 2+ years that this pandemic has been occurring. This show of solidarity is people getting sick and tired of the goalposts constantly being moved by the central figures of power and authority. This limitless, endless sort of illusory grasp on power, where they don't ever give us a time frame for when normalcy shall return, because they don't want to. This was never about health. It was never about ensuring the safety of the people. This is never about that. It was always about power. It was always about manipulation, corruption, and control. Rules for thee, but not for me. And I know that I have repeated this oft times on previous episodes of the Wright Flyer, but it bears repeating, because this is exactly what they're doing. This is the end-all, be-all solution that government is going to offer time and again until kingdom comes, because that's all they have to offer. And it's not a good offering. It's not a fair or accurate offering. It is a totalitarian offering. It is an offering by frothing at the mouth Fabian socialist leftists that is dubious. They are obfuscating the truth. And how are they doing it? Particularly within the confines of the graduates of Pavlov's School of Journalism for the legacy media? Well, they're going to frame those that are involved in this great northern resistance as being violent extremists. They've even tried to say that it's racist. They've tried to use all of the stops, all of the usual narratives and agenda points and talking points that has been the smoke and mirrors of the legacy media down here, up there. And this is to give cover to their corrupt political leaders like Justin Trudeau and like Legault in Quebec, so that they can continue to spin their false narrative, so that they can continue to act as though they are in a paternalistic position where they are patronizing the people, because the people are obviously not smart enough to think nor act for themselves. And they want it to be that people that are docile and are certainly naive, for want of a better term, to just shut off their mental faculties, to just think, oh, well, these are the bad people. These are the white supremacists. These are those who disagree with government power and authority. These are the usurpers within our midst. Now, that's a totally false narrative. And it's an intellectually disingenuous narrative, but it is the narrative that they have put together, a patchwork narrative designed to shut down any and all discourse. And for what purpose? Again, it's to seize power, to maintain power, to weave their web of deceit and to keep the docile and naive within their control, and to essentially push those who are sick and tired of it and want to get back to living their lives and want to get back to having their business thrive and flourish, despite the efforts of these wannabe potentates and these statists of destroying their business and livelihoods. They want to get back to normal. But the government doesn't want that. This is all part of the Great Reset. This is all part of their plan to create a new, glorious, utopian, socialist future where it's all going to be sunshine, lollipops, and rainbows from end of the horizon to end of the horizon. Now, if that sounds like nonsense or a bunch of bovine excrement, it is because it is exactly that. It is nothing but a steaming pile of bovine excrement. But that's what they have to offer, and it's all they have to offer. But what is it really? It's classic propaganda. They have already created the narrative they want, and they want you to accept it no matter what is coming down the pike. And if you even show as much as a semblance of resistance, then they feel that they have all of the excuse they need to double down on you, to destroy you, to utilize the minions of cancel culture whenever and wherever possible, and to essentially create this atmosphere of fear. Because through fear, indifference, and intolerance, they will amass their new kingdom. And anyone who refuses to march lockstep with them, that's clearly the enemy within. We've already seen how President Joe Biden has made that his official narrative, that he's gone in front of the cameras of the legacy media and basically doubled down on that tale of deception. And again, they think that they are so far above it. They think that there is a bifurcated or two-tiered system of rules and laws that they can get away with it, that there will be no consequences which they will suffer for their chicanery. And in years past, that has always been the case. They have always managed to manipulate the people, to flex their power, to utilize this two-tiered system, this rules for thee but not for me system to protect themselves. And they think that they've got it in the bag now. They think that they can continue to double down on that is normalcy, and that we as a nation and people alike, but not just we as a nation and people alike, but the peoples of the world have accepted this, that is the established world order, and anyone who questions it should be essentially re-educated for having the gall to stand up to their grand and glorious plan, which has been, as far as they're concerned, the greatest plan ever created. And so they don't like it when the people stand up to them. And the people aren't going along with it. So when they are receiving this type of unexpected resistance, they fall upon their first natural instinctive reaction, which is essentially to double down on more of the same. Well, if the people aren't getting it, maybe we just haven't said it, loud enough. Maybe we haven't been forceful enough in our displays of authority. That's the other way that they attempt to put it forth. And we can see this even directly related to this Canadian trucker protest in what Trudeau had said in front of the cameras of the legacy media. He had essentially gone forth and said that these people were wrong thinkers. Said that they held unacceptable beliefs, that they were opposing a grave danger to society. This kind of talk is hardly different than what the dictator of Nazi Germany, Adolf Hitler, did. It's the same type of thing. It's the same type of dehumanizing verbiage that was utilized for the Nazis to maintain power. And it's dangerous. it should be viewed upon as dangerous. It should be viewed upon that they are doing anything and everything within their power to attempt to divide and conquer the people, to attempt to ostracize anyone who holds a differing political opinion from their own. And that is unacceptable, particularly in a free society. And it should be rejected. And it's good to see that decent, hard-working Canadians just north of our border are sick and tired of this as well. And it's going to be interesting as well because Viva Fry, who's an attorney up in Quebec, is also going to be going to Ottawa in order to lay eyes upon this movement of freedom, this fountainhead of freedom in Canada for himself. And you should check out his channel to see that, because it's going to be quite interesting to see. A lot of the video footage that's out there that is being suppressed by the mainstream legacy media shows the sight that they don't want you to see. It shows people coming together saying, over the course of the past 2 years, we've been locked up, we've had our freedoms withheld and suppressed from us, we've been oppressed, and we're tired of it. We're tired of being told that we have to bend the knee to these nameless, faceless, and ultimately unaccountable bureaucrats, to these companies that have received clemency and immunity from any and all legal responsibility and liability. No, that's not what we need. And as for Trudeau, now that the truckers have made it to the capital of Canada, he and his family were whisked away to an undisclosed location, ostensibly on security grounds. It's nonsense. Maybe he could go wear blackface again. Because he's certainly that type of hypocrite. He's certainly the type that fits or falls into that unacceptable narrative. But people truly are sick and tired of the double standard that's been foisted upon them. They're sick and tired of their government telling them what they can and can't do without a logical or reasonable explanation for these demands of power, for these attempts to intrude upon our lives in ways which prior to this would have been unimaginable. It's always the same. Yet, this sort of thing is finally starting to backfire on them, and thank God for it. The people have just had it. And who can blame the people for having had it? It's sickening. It's grotesque. Government have pushed too hard and too fast, and people are tired of their draconian nonsense. And they aren't going to tolerate this authoritarianism. Not anymore. Not when this has been going on as long as it has. Not when they have been doing this without rhyme nor reason. And the way that they've been portraying this, the way that they've been acting, the way that they've been ostracizing and demonizing those who disagree with them is wholly unacceptable. Yet, they think they're smarter than we are. They think they know better than us. And they have shown this by their words, deeds, and actions. And every time that they are challenged, just as they are being challenged in Canada right now, they behave badly. They respond badly. They react just as potentates and dictators and authoritarians would be expected to respond, like petulant children. Where does it end? How much longer can they keep trying to push this? That is the question. That is the question for which there is no ready-made answer. But I do believe that there is an answer. They can't keep pushing it forever because the people are peaceably showing that they are tired of it. That when you attempt to govern outside of the bounds of reason, outside of the bounds of what is just, then you are no longer governing in a legitimate form and fashion. And that is the reality that they really don't want you to see or to know. And with that said, ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you again for choosing to fly over the friendly airwaves with us here at Radio Aviation Excellence, the Wright Flyer. Hope to see you again the next time we fly out. Please do take care. See you around.